Good morning dear students. Today I am going to discuss about posterior triangle. The posterior triangle can be discussed under introduction. First I am going to discuss about side of the neck and its boundaries, key muscle of neck region, posterior triangle, situation of posterior triangle, boundaries of the posterior triangle. Under boundaries, anterior, posterior, inferior also called as base, apex, roof and floor. Once you discuss the boundaries of the posterior triangle, we should know the subdivisions of posterior triangle. Subdivisions of the posterior triangle are occipital triangle and supraclavicular triangle. Contents of posterior triangle. Under contents, we will discuss about nerves, vessels and lymph nodes. Finally, we are going to conclude the class by applied anatomy. This picture depicts the side of the neck. The side of the neck is roughly quadrangular in outline. Now we will discuss about what are the boundaries of the side of the neck. Anterior boundary of the side of the neck is anterior midline of the neck. Upper boundary or the superior boundary of the side of the neck, it is by lower border of the base of the mandible and a line extending from the angle of the mandible till the mastoid process and superior nuchal lines. The posterior boundary of the side of the neck is formed by anterior border of trapezius. Inferior boundary of the side of the neck, it is formed by clavicle. The side of the neck, it is divided by sternocleidomastoid muscle which runs downwards from the mastoid process till the manubrium sternum into larger anterior triangle which is going to lie in front of the sternocleidomastoid and a larger posterior triangle which lies behind the sternocleidomastoid. Now we will be discussing the key muscle of the neck region. The main key muscle of the neck region is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. This muscle, any muscle, we should know the origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. First we will discuss about the origin of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. As the name implies, sternocleidomastoid muscle is going to have the two heads. One is the sternal head, other is the clavicular head. The sternal head is taking its origin from the superolateral surface of the manubrium sterni. The muscle fibers are directed upwards. It is going to insert into the lateral surface of the mastoid bone. Now coming to the clavicular head of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. The clavicular head origin is going to come from the superior surface of the medial 1/3 of the clavicle. The muscle fibers, they are passing vertically upwards. They are going to insert into the lateral part of the superior nuchal lines. As you see in the diagram, sternal head, it is tendinous. Aponeurotic part is the clavicular head. Once you discuss about origin and insertion, we should talk about the nerve supply of sternocleidomastoid. If we talk about nerve supply, it is by spinal part of the accessory nerve, that is the motor nerve supply. If we go for the sensory nerve supply, the proprioceptive impulses are carried by C2 and C3. Action of sternocleidomastoid. When one muscle contracts, turns the chin to opposite side. When both the muscles of the sternocleidomastoid act together, draws the head forwards as in eating and taking and lifting the pillow and lifting the head from the pillow. Here in this picture you can see when one muscle is acting alone. Here you can see one more picture when both the muscles are acting together. Now we will discuss about the posterior triangle situation. Posterior triangle is a triangular area which is present behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle in the side of the neck region. Then we should know what are the boundaries of the posterior triangle. First we will discuss about anterior boundary of the posterior triangle. The anterior boundary of the posterior triangle, it is formed by posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. The posterior boundary of the triangular area, that is posterior triangle, it is formed by anterior border of the trapezius. Now coming to the superior boundary or the upper boundary of the posterior triangle, it is a meeting point of two muscles, that is the sternocleidomastoid muscle and trapezius. It is going to lie on the superior nuchal lines. Now we will discuss about inferior boundary of the posterior triangle. The inferior boundary of the posterior triangle, it is formed by medial part of the clavicle. Now we will discuss about the roof of the posterior triangle. The roof of the posterior triangle is going to form by skin, superficial fascia. In superficial fascia, we are going to see a subcutaneous muscle, that is platysma. Beneath the platysma, we can see the external jugular vein. Beneath the external jugular vein, we can see the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. It is pierced by 4 cutaneous nerves. Now we will discuss about the superficial fascia. As you know, in superficial fascia, we are going to see a subcutaneous striated muscle. It is quadrilateral shaped muscle, that is the platysma. This quadrilateral shaped muscle, platysma, it is a remnant of panniculus carnosus. Now we will discuss about the origin of platysma muscle. The platysma muscle is not going to have any bony origin. Origin is going to come from the skin and deep fascia covering the pectoralis major muscle and deltoid muscle. The muscle fiber sweeps upwards and forwards. These muscle fibers, they are going to pass superficial to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. These muscle fibers are going to insert into the lower border of the body of the mandible and the angle of the mouth. Once you have discussed about origin and insertion, we should talk about nerve supply of platysma. Platysma is supplied by cervical branch of the facial nerve. Once you have discussed about origin, insertion, nerve supply, then we should talk about action of platysma. Contraction of the platysma muscle produces oblique wrinkles on the neck region. Deeper to the platysma, we are going to see the external jugular vein. As you know, external jugular vein is formed by posterior division of retromandibular vein and the posterior auricular vein. Both the posterior auricular vein and the posterior division of the retromandibular vein, they are going to unite in the lower part of the parotid gland. Then the external jugular vein crosses the sternocleidomastoid muscle obliquely, then pierces the antero-inferior angle of the roof of the posterior triangle, then finally opens into the subclavian vein. As you know, the vein will be having the tributaries. Now we will discuss about what are the important tributaries of external jugular vein. The following are the tributaries of the external jugular vein. The first, posterior external jugular vein. Second, transverse cervical vein. The third one, suprascapular vein. The fourth one, anterior jugular vein. Oblique jugular vein connects the external jugular vein and internal jugular vein at the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. The jugular vein is examined to access external jugular vein is examined to access the venous pressure, because the right atrial pressure directly it is reflected in the external jugular vein. External jugular vein, it doesn't have any valves in the entire course. This picture depicts the roof of the posterior triangle. As you have discussed, the roof of the posterior triangle is going to form by the skin, superficial fascia. We have discussed about the platysma and external jugular vein. The roof of the posterior triangle is formed by investing layer of deep cervical fascia. The investing layer of deep cervical fascia, it is pierced by 4 cutaneous nerves. These 4 cutaneous nerves, these are the branches of cervical plexus. Now we will discuss about the first cutaneous nerve, that is a lesser occipital nerve. The lesser occipital nerve, it is going to emerge from the midpoint of the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. It is going to ascend upwards. It is going to supply back of the auricle and the back of the scalp. Coming to the second nerve, that is a greater auricular nerve. The greater auricular nerve arises a little below the lesser occipital nerve. It winds around the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. It ascends upwards. It is going to divide into two branches. Anterior branch, it is going to supply the parotid gland and the ramus of the mandible. The posterior branch of the greater auricular nerve, it is going to supply the front and the back of the lobule. The third cutaneous nerve which is going to pierce the roof of the posterior triangle is the transverse cervical nerve. The transverse cervical nerve winds around the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. At the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, it is piercing the deep fascia. It is going to supply the front of the neck by ascending and descending branches. Coming to the fourth cutaneous nerve, that is the supraclavicular nerve. The supraclavicular nerve, it is going to descend downwards. It is going to pierce the deep fascia above the clavicle by dividing into three branches: medial, intermediate and lateral. These medial, intermediate and lateral branches of the supraclavicular nerve, it is going to supply the skin over the thoracic region and arm region. Now we will discuss the floor of the posterior triangle. The floor of the posterior triangle is muscular. The floor is formed by the following muscles from above downwards. Those are semispinalis capitis, splenius capitis, levator scapulae, scalenus posterior, scalenus medius and scalenus anterior. All these muscles are covered by prevertebral layer of deep cervical fascia. This prevertebral layer of deep cervical fascia, it is going to form the facial carpet. Now we will discuss about the divisions of the posterior triangle. 2.5 centimeters above the clavicle, inferior belly of the omohyoid, which is taking its origin from the suprascapular notch. It crosses the posterior triangle, passes behind the sternocleidomastoid and joins with the intermediate tendon. This intermediate tendon attaches to the body of the hyoid bone by superior belly of the omohyoid. Inferior belly of the omohyoid divides the entire posterior triangle into larger occipital triangle and smaller supraclavicular triangle or subclavian triangle. This occipital triangle and subclavian triangle or supraclavicular triangle, based upon the arteries which are present in this triangle, the names have given occipital triangle and subclavian triangle. Now we will discuss about boundaries of the larger occipital triangle. The following are the boundaries of the occipital triangle. Anterior boundary, it is formed by posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. Posterior boundary is going to form by anterior border of trapezius. The lower boundary or the inferior boundary, it is formed by inferior belly of the omohyoid. Once you have discussed about the boundaries of the occipital triangle, then we have to go for subclavian triangle or supraclavicular triangle. Now I will discuss about what are the boundaries of the supraclavicular or subclavian triangle. Above or superior boundary of the subclavian triangle is by inferior belly. In front, it is formed by posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. Below or the lower limitation of the supraclavicular triangle is by clavicle. Now we will discuss about the contents of the posterior triangle, the nerves of the posterior triangle. The first nerve we are going to discuss is the spinal part of the accessory nerve. The spinal part of the accessory nerve appears in the posterior triangle deep to the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. The spinal part of the accessory nerve descend downwards, rest on the levator scapulae muscle and disappears at the anterior border of trapezius. The spinal part of the accessory nerve, it is going to supply sternocleidomastoid and trapezius muscle. The four cutaneous nerves which are derived from the cervical plexus are: the first cutaneous nerve is the lesser occipital nerve. The lesser occipital nerve, it is forming a hook over the spinal part of the accessory nerve. You can see in the diagram, it is going to ascend upwards. It is going to supply the back of the scalp and the auricle. The second cutaneous nerve is the greater auricular nerve. The greater auricular nerve winds around the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. It is going to ascend upwards. It is going to divide into two branches, anterior and posterior. Anterior branch supplies the ramus of the mandible and the parotid gland, whereas the posterior branch supplies the front and the back of the lobule. Coming to the third cutaneous nerve, that is a transverse cervical nerve. This transverse cervical nerve, it is going to supply the skin over the front of the neck by giving two branches, ascending and descending. Coming to the fourth cutaneous nerve, which is a branch coming from the cervical plexus, that is the supraclavicular nerve. The supraclavicular nerve, it is going to descend downwards. It is going to pierce the deep fascia above the clavicle by dividing into three branches, medial, intermediate and lateral. These three branches, they are going to supply the skin over the thoracic region and the arm region. Dorsal scapular nerve. The dorsal scapular nerve pierces the scalenus medius muscle, runs downwards and backwards and disappears beneath the levator scapulae and supplies the rhomboids major and minor. The other name for the dorsal scapular nerve, it is also called as nerve to rhomboids, as it is going to supply rhomboids major and minor. Long thoracic nerve arises from C5, C6, C7, passes downwards, enters the apex of the axilla and supplies scalenus and supplies serratus anterior muscle. Nerve to subclavius arises from the upper trunk of the brachial plexus, carry fibers from C5 to C5 and C6, passes downwards, supplies the subclavius muscle and sternoclavicular joint. Suprascapular nerve passes to the suprascapular foramen or notch, enters into the supraspinatus fossa, supplies the supraspinatus muscle and descend downwards into the infraspinatus fossa and supplies the infraspinatus muscle. Three trunks of the brachial plexus, upper trunk, middle trunk and lower trunk. These trunks of the brachial plexus, they are directed downwards and laterally between the scalenus anterior and scalenus medius muscle. As you know, the upper trunk is formed by C5 and C6, middle trunk is going to form by C7, lower trunk of the brachial plexus is going to form by C8 and T1. Under contents, we have discussed about the nerves which are present in the posterior triangle. Now we will discuss about the blood vessels which are present in the posterior triangle. One of the artery which is present in the posterior triangle is the occipital artery. This occipital artery, it is going to rest on the apex of the posterior triangle. Occipital artery rests on the semispinalis capitis muscle. This artery is tortuous over the back of the scalp. It is accompanied by greater occipital nerve. Now we will discuss about the superficial cervical artery, also called as transverse cervical artery. This superficial cervical artery or transverse cervical artery, it is a branch coming from the thyrocervical trunk. The thyrocervical trunk is in turn branch coming from the first part of the subclavian artery. This transverse cervical artery or superficial cervical artery crosses the scalenus anterior muscle, crosses the trunk of the brachial plexus at the anterior border of the trapezius, at the anterior border of the levator scapulae. It is going to divide into two branches, superficial and deep branch. The superficial branch crosses the levator scapulae accompanied by the spinal part of the accessory nerve. The deep branch passes deep to the levator scapulae and accompanies dorsal scapular nerve. Now we will discuss about the artery, that is the third part of the subclavian artery. This third part of the subclavian artery extends downwards and laterally from the lateral border of the scalenus anterior muscle to the outer border of the first rib. It is going to descend downwards into the apex of the axilla and continues as the axillary artery. There are two subclavian arteries, one on the right side called as right subclavian artery, and other artery on the left side, that is the left subclavian artery. The right subclavian artery arises from the brachiocephalic trunk, whereas the left subclavian artery arises from the arch of aorta. Now we will discuss the course of each subclavian artery. Each subclavian artery arches upwards and laterally behind the scalenus anterior muscle, then appears in the posterior triangle in the gap between scalenus anterior and scalenus medius muscle, descend downwards into the axilla and continues as the axillary artery. Each subclavian artery, it is divided by the scalenus anterior muscle into three parts. First part, it is going to lie medial to the muscle. Second part, it is going to lie behind the muscle, and the third part lies lateral to the scalenus anterior. Now we will discuss what are the branches coming from the first part. The branches coming from the first part are vertebral artery, internal thoracic artery, thyrocervical trunk from both sides, costocervical trunk of the left side. Now coming to the branches of the second part, which are going to lie behind the scalenus anterior muscle, only one branch, that is costocervical trunk of the right side. Now we will discuss about the third part, which is going to lie lateral to the scalenus anterior muscle. Only one branch from the third part, that is the dorsal scapular artery. Subclavian vein lies behind the clavicle. It begins as a continuation of axillary vein at the outer border of the first rib and ends at the medial border of scalenus anterior by joining with the internal jugular vein. Under contents, we have done the nerves and vessels. Now we will discuss about the nodes, lymph nodes pertaining to the posterior triangle. Occipital lymph nodes, they are resting on the apex of the posterior triangle, resting on the semispinalis capitis or the occipital lymph nodes. Here are the lymph nodes accompanying the spinal part of the accessory nerve. Above the clavicle lies the supraclavicular group of lymph nodes. Now we will discuss about the applied anatomy or clinical anatomy pertaining to the posterior triangle. The first applied anatomy is the swelling in the posterior triangle. We should know what is a common cause for the swelling in posterior triangle. The most common swelling in the posterior triangle is due to the enlargement of supraclavicular lymph nodes. Supraclavicular lymph nodes are enlarged in tuberculosis, Hodgkin's disease, malignant growth of mammary gland, malignancy in chest and arm. Left supraclavicular lymph nodes, also called as Virchow's lymph nodes, are commonly involved in metastasis from cancer stomach, cancer testis, and cancer of other abdominal organs. Second applied anatomy, damage to the spinal part of the accessory nerve. Damage to the spinal part of the accessory nerve seen in operations involving the removal or biopsy of lymph nodes in posterior triangle. This leads to the paralysis of the trapezius muscle. The damage or paralysis to the trapezius muscle leads into difficulty in combing his or her hair. Third applied anatomy, pulsations of the subclavian artery. The pulsations of the subclavian artery can be felt at the root of the neck by pressing the subclavian artery on the first rib at the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid muscle. Fourth applied anatomy, cold abscess in posterior triangle. Pus get collected in the posterior triangle deep to the facial carpet, which is formed by vertebral layer of deep cervical fascia. From the tubercular cervical vertebra, the pus track downwards and laterally along the axillary sheath. The pus first appears in axilla or even in the arm subsequently. This picture depicts the nerve point of neck. It is a junction of the upper 1/3 and middle 1/3 of the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid, where the four cutaneous nerves which are derived from the brachial plexus and the spinal part of the accessory nerve, that emerging of the four cutaneous nerve and the spinal part of the accessory nerve, it is regarded as nerve point of the neck. In cervical plexus nerve block, anesthesia agent injected at this site. Sixth applied anatomy, that is the second part of the subclavian artery may get compressed by the scalenus anterior muscle, resulting in the decreased blood supply to the upper limb. If the muscle is divided, the effects are abolished. Wryneck or torticollis. It is a clinical condition in which head is bent to one side and chin points to the opposite side. The main reason for the Wryneck or torticollis is due to the spasm of trapezius and the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which are supplied by spinal part of the accessory nerve. Torticollis is of four types. Torticollis is of three types. Those are spasmodic torticollis. Spasmodic torticollis is caused by painful contraction of trapezius and sternocleidomastoid muscle. The reason for the spasmodic torticollis is exposure to cold and maladjustment of pillow during sleep. Congenital torticollis is due to birth injury to the muscle. Last, reflex torticollis, it is due to irritation of spinal accessory nerve. This ends the class. Thank you.